From the John DeVita Broadcast Center, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another broadcast of Armchair Experts with Jim Leon and Rich Massaro on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network and Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich on Thursday, June the 21st. Yep, the first day of summer, the year of 2018. And now here they are with a big sunshine smile on their face, Jim and Rich.
And I see the obvious sign of summer in the backyard that the screen porch is up.
All right.
Oh, finally, I tell you, I thought that was never going to say. I had to get a new roof for it, and Menards kind of screwed up on my order. So
I remember you saying that you wanted to go in and buy it, and they told you to come back when it was...
when they had the rebate.
When they had the rebate.
Yeah.
So they still screwed it up?
Yes, they did, but my sister took care of it, and we got it.
Did you get your 11%?
Oh, yes. Oh,
All right.
yes. Oh, yeah,
All
we
right.
sure did. Boy, a big, hefty one.
Most important.
Right after you guys left last Wednesday, FedEx brought the roof, and Thursday morning, Oscar and I were out there, and we put up the screen house, and we had our first meal out there last Thursday evening.
All right. True sign of summer when I look in the DeVita yard.
Yes, sir.
And the screen porch is up.
Yes, indeedy.
So, let's see. What do we need to talk about today? Ooh, reunion. Reunion. Don't forget.
You know, I emailed Mary yesterday.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you, what did you email her about? Because I got a copy of the email.
I simply said that.
Did you make any contact with anybody?
I haven't made. Well, I actually left a message at Craig Chesessy's place of business. I haven't gotten a call back.
Somebody got a hold of him.
Somebody got a hold of him?
Yeah, I think Billy Caravia got a hold of him.
Oh, good. So I won't try to get a hold of him again. But no, I told her, I said, you know, to make a long story short, I lost the list that I had. Can you give me another list? And she did. So I have about, I don't know, I think it's 12 or 14 names on that list that I think I could make contact with. But two of them are really ones I think that Bill Olbrich might have more contact with. One of them is Jim Kirsten. And not that OB has contact with Scott Wazalis, but the last time Bill and I talked about Scott, which was probably a good 8 or 10 years ago, he had located Scott where he was working. I mean, Scott's still in the area.
Scott, at least when I looked at whatever the site I've been using to try to find people, is in Yorkville, I think.
You know, the interesting
thing,
and
Jim, I need to try to make a contact with
because you know they have these sites like Intellis and those other sites.
Yeah.
And I found Scott on one of those sites, and what I didn't know is that he hasn't always been in the area. He was in Las Vegas for a while. He was in Henderson, Nevada for a while. He was in another state. I can't remember what, but he actually he's moved around a little bit. So
yeah,
it's. Do you remember? Yeah, remember the Cornfines? You know, Bill Cornfine. He was involved in Little League really early on when we were young kids.
No,
I believe that Scott is married to a Cornfine.
Oh,
and because I found an obit for I want to say it was maybe Don Cornfine, and you know, said Joyce. I want to say Scott's spouse, if he's still married, is Joyce. I want to say, and you know, it was Scott. How do they do it in obit? They put Scott parentheses
right.
Joyce.
Yeah.
And so I realized that's I think probably whoever's obit I was looking at his daughter. But
well, I'm still running into walls. I haven't had much time lately to do anything on it, but yesterday I looked at a couple of things, and I still run into a brick wall trying to find out about Gary Johnson and John Hutton.
Actually, an old.
Actually, I wrote Jennifer Kelsall and asked, "Is there any way that the school could confirm these two dates of birth?"
You know, I told Mary though. Gary and I played softball together way back, and one of our teammates, Larry Zykowski, was friendly with Gary for a period of time after I lost contact with Gary. And Larry's brother Pete then played for me later on. So I'm going to I'm friends with Pete on Facebook. I'm going to get a hold of Pete and see if he can give me any solid information on that. So.
Yeah, because the birth dates for both of them would fit our age group.
Mm-hmm.
And I just need to confirm it.
Okay.
And I wrote to Jennifer. I said, is there any way Ridgewood could just, somebody at Ridgewood could at least...
Did you get an answer?
I just wrote yesterday, so
okay.
I'll be surprised.
Don't hold your breath.
I'm not expecting anything, but I'm kind of hoping that if we can confirm this, I'm about 90% certain we found our guys, but unfortunately they're not with us anymore.
Yeah.
And this has been a week of neighborhood passings. Linda Guerin, who lived next to me, passed away this week, and she was class of 1965.
Okay.
So,
That's
so you look at something like that and you go, 70 years old? That's not old.
Yeah. No. Hey.
That's not old.
That's darn young.
That's darn young. What are you talking about?
The hell.
70 years old, but
whatever.
Condolences to her husband Chuck and her brother Bruce and her brother Chris.
Wow.
So it was, felt kind of strange for a neighborhood thing, and it was kind of funny too, because somebody had posted to one of the Facebook boards about people that have passed from Norwich and bringing up Linda's best friend Connie Sadowski, who lived directly across the street from me. Well, Connie also passed away like 2 or 3 months ago.
Oh, geez.
So 70 years old is not very old. I'm getting buzzing, John, in this headset. Yeah.
Yeah, Jim's going to another headset here. Okay.
Let's try this. Hey.
Good.
Okay. Hey.
Sounds
so far,
good.
I think it's better. Well, I'm hearing like I don't know, John. Nope, I'm getting it on this one too. Anyhow, so I heard on the way over, since today is NBA Draft Day.
Oh, today is the day. Okay.
Or tomorrow is NBA Draft Day.
Okay.
Tomorrow, when the show airs, we're doing this on Wednesday.
The draft is better than the season.
Draft is much better than the season. I had to laugh because over the weekend, I'm getting crackling on this one too. I had to laugh over the weekend that I looked at the Tribune and always check Steve Rosenblum on Sunday because I need my weekly dose of snark.
Mm-hmm.
And he talked about everything, all the teams, all the leagues with their drafts going on this time of year. And he said that there's some things that should always be occurring. And he said, he described the NFL draft. With the first pick forever in the NFL draft, the Cleveland Browns will select the wrong person.
Okay.
With the number 7 pick in the NBA draft, the Chicago Bulls will select a player just good enough to get them back into Basketball Hell.
Yeah, maybe.
With the first pick in the Major League Baseball draft, a team will select some guy who will have Tommy John surgery in 2 years.
Yeah, right. That's good.
And with every pick in the NFL draft, every team will select a player that no one has ever heard of.
Yeah. Probably so, yeah. You know, Jim, the interesting thing about the drafts are that, it is a gigantic crapshoot. So
always.
You never really know. Did you see the article, I think it was in yesterday's paper, about the Hawks draft? And what did the Hawks draft? They got the 8th pick or something like that?
They have got the 8th pick.
And they did a nice little history going back a few years of players that were picked at that spot by various teams and how they did, and then also, hits in the first round of the particular draft they were talking about and misses. And, it's interesting. I would think at the least, that your first round picks should play some professional hockey at the NHL level. And there was at least 1 year in that article where there was a player that was picked that never made the NHL level at that point. So, and it wasn't like the last pick, the team that had the last pick in the first round. It was, maybe in the 20s or the teens, but the guy had never advanced to the NHL level to that point. So, it's really hard. The other thing is, how is a guy going to fit into your they were talking back to the NBA draft. Joel Colley seems to be off the Trae Young train, but he made a good point in his article here by saying this guy is a guy who is a ball dominant point guard, which is not what Hoiberg wants. Also, the Bulls finished 27th defensively in the NBA, and this guy is not known for his defense. So this is probably a guy that you're not going to pick. Doesn't seem like he would fit your system. Now, that's not to say that if you picked him, maybe he'd be the greatest thing since sliced bread. You never know. You just don't know.
You never know. And now I'm hearing the Bulls talking about maybe trading up.
Well, did you see? I think one of these scenarios here was trading a couple of picks to get this guy Bagley.
Yeah, to get Marvin Bagley. 3 dream scenarios. Package the number 7 and 22 pick with a future protected. So essentially, you're giving up 3 picks to get Marvin Bagley the 3rd. And they think he might be the best fit with Larry Markkinen. Next one, package 7 and 22 to move up and grab Jaren Jackson Jr.
Now, where's he from? Jaren Jackson Jr.
No, I can't remember.
That's a name that's new to this group that usually gets mentioned, I think, isn't it?
And then the other one, the other possibility is Michael Porter falls to them at number 7, and then they add a shooter such as Kevin Hutter from Maryland with the number 22 pick.
Michael Porter is the guy who scares me the most, though.
3 games.
Yeah, I mean
3 games he played. I feel the same way.
Yeah, and you know what? This is why I have to buy into what this one NBA exec is saying. That the first, I don't know if he says the first 7 or 10 picks is fool's gold.
He just says the draft is top heavy.
In fool's gold.
Top heavy with fool's gold, but now I don't know if he's saying between 1 and 15 or 1 and 14. But the area between 15 and 30 is loaded with players close in talent and with a lot of upside. That's why there's a reasonable chance, a realistic chance, that the player the Bulls draft at number 22, the pick they got from the Pelicans, will turn out to be better than anything they could take at number 7.
Yeah, I get that. Although I have to say this, when you look at this group of players that's always mentioned as being, the top 7 or 8, you would hope, because most of them have not much experience, that they would also have pretty good upsides.
You would hope that. I'm trying to go back to find the morning paper here.
The problem, Jim, though, is to say you picked Michael Porter. He's your top draft choice. Are you expecting him to perform and help your team right away, or are you going to give him time to develop, or what's the deal?
You're going to need to give him time to develop. This is a guy who played 3 games last year. I have no idea how many games he's played in his college career.
No, he's only played.
Is it just
he played the first game of
so he's coming out?
He was a freshman.
He was a freshman, so
he
it's
got
3
hurt
games.
in the first game, and then he Missouri without him. Let's say you have to say that still made the NCAA tournament, and I believe he played 1 game there, and they got knocked out in the first game. So I think it's actually 2 games, Jim, but I don't know, 2, 3.
I don't know.
I'd say. Here's the way I would look at it is, I would expect your professional basketball team, NBA-style professional basketball team, aren't you going to want to draft somebody who already knows how to play basketball?
You would think.
I'd say this. We have a competitive softball team. The guys that we pick already know how to play. We're not picking anybody to teach them how to play.
Mm-hmm.
And I would think, and that's an amateur deal. This is professional. You would hope that these guys would already know how to play.
Yeah.
And I think that's doubtful when I look at the guys that are mentioned here. Some of these guys maybe. I know that Bridges, is it Michael Bridges that played for Villanova?
No.
Or is he Michigan State?
Yeah, no. He was Villanova.
The two Bridges guys.
Yeah, the Bridges ones I get confused. The guy
Yeah.
from Michigan State, I just went blank.
Now those two guys, I think, have at least a little bit more experience.
I think so, too.
But when you look at, say, Bagley or Carter or Porter or Young, those four guys don't have much experience.
No. And I'm just laughing here. I'm looking at the one of the nightmare scenarios. This guy said they draft Trae Young with the number 7 pick, then double down on a draft gone wrong by selecting Grayson Allen with the number 22 pick.
I don't see why they would.
That sounds so bull.
Yeah, I don't know. Although why is here's the thing. Grayson Allen is a very scrappy, competitive player, and he's not without skills.
No.
Why is
No.
Grayson Allen not like one of these guys who's a potential top of the line draft pick? What's the deal with him? I think, is he white? Is that the problem? There it is. Okay, that's the problem. He's white. Okay, I got it.
And whiny.
Yeah. Well, there's.
You talk about
listen.
You talk
Jim,
about a guy who could come
Listen.
up with a jerk face that would match Jay Cutler.
I'm watching the NBA Finals, and I'm listening to Jeff Van Gundy. Let's see. There was a play where I don't know if we talked about this, but LeBron knocked the guy over, then tripped over him,
You don't.
and then he's saying, "He fouled me."
Yeah.
And Van Gundy, now I guess on the way down the court, Draymond Green was giving the official some real static. So Van Gundy starts to talk about a double standard in the NBA. Why is Draymond Green getting away with this? And I'm thinking, you want to talk about a double standard? A couple plays before the play I'm talking about, LeBron took like 4 steps to get to the basket. Then he's wondering why he didn't get a why he didn't get a foul call. Why are they calling traveling on me?
Yeah.
So you're talking about Green has a double standard.
Double standard.
And then Van Gundy says, "Well, you're talking about James, a guy who never complains." I go,
He complains.
all he does is
constantly.
complain.
He complains constantly.
Actually, we come in on Friday night after softball, and they had the game on. We sit down. The first thing I see, LeBron down on the court. He went up. I think somebody scratched him. And he's, oh, my God. I go, this guy, why did they call him the king? He's a queen. He's a drama queen.
He reminds me something like that. That would remind me of one of the old bits that the Globetrotters would do when Meadowlark Lemon would fall down.
Yeah.
And they'd carry him over, and they'd
God.
be working on him, and you'd hear him moaning, and suddenly go, they're working on his shoulder and his arm, and you hear him suddenly go, "It's my leg."
Yeah, that's good. I'll tell you what, if LeBron was a boxer, he'd be a canvasback, because I never seen a guy down on the court so many times. And you know what? Miraculously, he gets back up, and he's like a tank after that.
Oh yeah.
So
They were here. I was looking. I went back to look at an article from the Tribune this morning. Casey Johnson talking about some of the players that can be available at 22, and there's some talent down there for that second pick if they hang on to it. Dante DiVincenzo from Villanova, the hero of the NCAA title game with 31 points.
yeah,
DiVincenzo, who did pre-draft work with Kirk Heinrich, averaged 13.4 points on 40% three-point shooting in his final year at Villanova. Chandler Hutchinson, Boise State. 4-year college player, skipped the draft combine amid multiple reports he had received a draft promise. I'd heard that too, with one report linking that promise to the Bulls. That didn't happen, but Hutchinson represents a long-armed, versatile defender who's worked to improve his shooting. Jerome Robinson from Boston College. He shot 37.6% from three-point range over 3 seasons, including 40.9% in his final year. Robinson has the ability to play well on or off the ball, though he's not considered advanced as a shot creator. He needs improvement in seeing the floor and passing. Jacob Evans from Cincinnati, he's committed at the defensive end with a bit of physicality to go with his versatility. He's also adept at making good decisions, fitting well in whatever offense his team runs. Evans shot above 37% from the three-point range in his sophomore and junior seasons and rarely forced shots. The kid they mentioned in there from Maryland, Kevin Herter. One of the draft's better pure shooters, he also moves well without the ball and is adept at spacing the floor. Shooting travels to the NBA, and Hunter hit close to 40% of his three-point shots in his 2 collegiate seasons. He has a long way to go defensively, however, and doesn't possess a long wingspan. And he's 6'7", and a quarter. Really light, though, 194 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Troy Brown, Oregon, former point guard who played just 1 college season and doesn't turn 19 until July. He would be a project. Brown needs to work on his perimeter shooting, particularly from three-point range, but his length and athleticism project well for versatility. I'm looking at these guys, and DiVincenzo, 6'4.5", 201 pounds. Chandler Hutchinson, 6'7", 197 pounds. Jerome Robinson, 6'5", 188 pounds. Got to put some meat on some of these guys.
Well, the one thing you could say about DiVincenzo, you know that he's not afraid of the spotlight.
No.
He stepped up big time in that game.
No, that's for sure.
Last spring.
Yeah.
Jim, I was going to say that actually the 7 and 22, those are 2 first-round picks. So we will get another pick then, or don't we have another pick?
I don't believe we do. I believe that was... No, that's it. And this pick they got, this was from the 22 pick came from the Mirotic deal, and I don't know if that second-round pick went the other way. I don't remember.
Let me ask you this: is it just me being old and crotchety, or where do you think? Do you think the league is actually a better league today than it was, say, back in the days of when the Bulls' glory days with Jordan? Or?
No, I don't think it is.
No, I
don't think it is. I think the game has evolved to long distance shooting and no defense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, what made me say that, though, is when you started to mention say the Bulls keep the 7 pick and whoever they pick, and then say the 22nd pick or the 22nd guy picked is this Herter. What made me think about asking you that question is, who is actually populating the game? I mean,
that's a good question.
Because these are not.
I
don't think that when you're saying these guys here, Porter, Bagley, Carter, Young, Bridges, are the cream of the crop in this draft. And as far as I'm concerned, they're all projects. And then you go further in the draft and you say, well, you could get some value there, but those guys are also projects. What does that say about the league? Because these are the guys. These guys are going to make their teams probably.
Sure.
And how is the league improving when this is the product? These are the guys you're picking. I don't see it.
I don't see it either. And I'm looking at the comment here about what they're talking about with the Bulls' need, and Joe Cowley, right on the head here. Here's the reality. As long as Hoiberg is the Bulls' coach, he's going to continue adding offensive sets in which the ball ends up in forward Larry Markkanen's hands. Point guard Chris Dunn is as close as the Bulls have to an elite defender. Shooting guard Zach LaVine is athletic but has serious defensive issues. And Robin Lopez is entering the final year of his contract.
Yeah.
I mean, you have another year of quote, rebuilding, tanking, or whatever you want to call it. I got to think Lopez is going to be a currency come the trade deadline. For something.
And you know what? That reminds me. Didn't we get his Sheik back?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
and
don't.
no mention of him.
I don't know what the heck. The
he'll-
Bulls are still, as far as I'm concerned, and you know what? I'm looking at this trade, the Jimmy Butler deal, and the way it's starting to turn out is it's almost was a 1-for-1 because I don't know that Dunn and Levine are going to stick here.
I don't- I'm
they're talking a
surprised.
lot of crap about Dunn not working hard over
Right.
the off season.
Right. Although I heard an interview with John Paxson about a week ago,
That he's
and he
saying
was
that's
asked
not
that
true.
he was asked that question directly,
Okay.
and he said we had some issues. Apparently, they had some issues and talked to him before,
Okay.
but that was a separate thing. And he said we told him you'll always hear from us.
Mm-hmm.
You'll hear from us directly if we have a problem.
That's good.
Yeah. Actually, it was a very interesting interview with Paxson. That
Well, I think Paxson is a smart guy, and but I just don't. I don't know. A lot of this stuff does not add up to me to be
it doesn't.
any success at all.
It doesn't, and it's not. No, it's. I'm going 2 and 2, 2 plus 2, and I'm getting 7. And
Well, say Jim, if you were the guy who's running the Bulls, and say that what Cowley is saying here is right, Lowry Markkanen is the guy that ultimately the offense is going to run through him, if you want to say it that way. All right, so then who does actually your first pick? Let's say the number 7 guy. Who makes the most sense based on that being the case? Who makes the most sense?
well, what he's saying here is what's missing is a small forward who can play defense while slowly becoming part of the offense, or a big man who can switch between power forward and center with Markkanen.
Okay.
What do you got in here?
Well, that's why I keep saying, even though in my way of thinking, Cowley contradicts himself, I'm saying Carter might be that guy.
It might be.
But he's saying that's a bust if they do that.
Well, the problem is he's from problem is from Duke, and Gar Forman loves Duke.
Okay.
And then if he took Grayson Allen, it would be another year where everybody would look at this and go, "Oh my God, we're stuck in basketball hell again." Or another year of
It's going to be that
27
way anyway.
or another year of 27 victories.
Unless we sign the Queen, and
Ain't
I
gonna-
think that's a
yeah.
long shot.
I'm looking at this article here about LeBron's speculation enthralls the nation.
Yeah. Well,
All I'm thinking of is years ago when he went to Miami and ESPN was down there 24 hours a day, and the Chuckster got on the air, I think, in Philadelphia. Charles Barkley got on the air in Philadelphia, and they asked him about this, and Barkley gave it the, oh my goodness, this is just nothing but 24 hours of unadulterated ass licking.
Jeez. Charles knows how to put it succinctly. Ay. Yeah, no, it's a good point, though. It was crazy. And I did you see the...
Now, what's curious, and I don't know anything about the deal, but I heard coming over before I had to figure out what the traffic problems were up there. Apparently, Dwight Howard was traded to the Nets this morning.
Okay.
Now, I don't know what came back or what this is, or if this is just a salary dump, or whatever it might be.
It's not in the paper.
It's not. No, it's not in the paper. It's too early, and so I don't know what the deal is on that one.
Well, I forget, where was he at last year? Was he in Atlanta or something?
No,
forgot where he's at.
he was with the Hornets.
Oh, with Charlotte. Okay.
Yeah, I think he was with the Hornets.
Okay. So you're saying he's gone to the Nets, and not sure who the heck he went for.
I don't know. I don't know what the deal would be, and well, it's almost time for a station break, so maybe I can find that.
Hey, wow.
Hey,
Man, that
this
was
is
fast.
didn't I segue into that one nicely? Huh?
Yeah.
Hey.
You're listening to Armchair Experts from the John DeVito Broadcast Center on Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norge and the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network on Thursday, June the 21st, the year 2018, with Jim Leon and Rich Massaro. And this is Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich, Illinois. And now back to Armchair Experts with Jim Leon and Rich Massaro.
As we're both trying to find what happened to...
My phone says Dwight is trending, so we know he got traded.
Okay.
Let's see. Reportedly finalizing trade to send Dwight Howard to Nets for Timofey Mozgov.
Yeah.
Draft picks and what else? Is there anything else there? Let's see. Dwight Howard for Timofey Mozgov. Come on, baby.
Former Cleveland Cavalier.
Yeah. He's a big man, right?
Yep.
Is he a big guy?
Yep.
Yeah. So is Charlotte still? Shoot. Is Charlotte still? That's Michael Jordan's team,
Right.
He's
Right.
are they the Bobcats now?
I can't remember.
They're not the
Hornets.
Hornets, are they? Are they the
Charlotte
Hornets?
I forget
Yeah.
what they are. And Charlotte has the number 11 pick
Okay.
in the draft order right now.
Let's see what we got here. You know what? All I've got is Timofey Mozgov draft picks, and now you know what? This is not coming up fast enough for us to. So Jim, you're going to have to.
Okay.
You're going to have to
can't
vamp here.
All right. Well, I actually, when I was looking over there, I went to my Google page and I was about to search on what you did, and I come up with an article from Bloggable.com. Bloggable.
Oh, wow.
So we're just a day away from the draft, and it has been somewhat quiet on the Bulls front. We did get some nuggets from NBC Sports Chicago's Vincent Goodwill in his piece about the Bulls' supposed interest in Michael Porter Jr. Goodwill reports via several league sources that the Bulls have inquired about moving up to number 3 or number 4, presumably to take Porter, while team sources,
Holy crap.
in quotes, refuted this notion. Meanwhile, early Wednesday saw the Tribune's Casey Johnson also suggesting the Bulls are interested in trading up for Mo Bamba.
Although you know what, Mo though he's a little light. Here, Jim, just to go back to what we're talking about, this is the essence of the deal. Dwight Howard and Mozgov are traded, and the idea would be Nets will save $17 million on the deal in 2019 and 20, allowing them to create two max salary slots.
All right, so it's a salary cap.
Yeah.
It's a salary cap thing.
So that's the deal there.
Okay, all right, that's the deal.
You know what, Jim? What are we we're gonna do some baseball here? Or,
I don't know. I was gonna
or
pick
you still
up.
got more on basketball?
Well, there was one thing I saw here before again about we were making fun of LeBron here. LeBron free agent frenzy. Hall of Famer Gary Payton says LeBron James Jr. committed to Sierra Canyon High School in Chatsworth, California. A sure sign James is going to sign with the Lakers.
Yeah, but then further on.
Then, former NBA player Earl Boykins, a source I always trust, said the Nuggets were a realistic option for James. Doesn't pass the smell test. Enes Kanter. Boy, there's a name from the past. Said the Knicks had a good chance. They might had a chance, not sure it's a good one. Chris Bosh, James' friend and former Heat teammate, guessed that he would go to the Rockets. Dwayne Wade, another friend and former teammate, said it's a family decision more than a basketball decision. Then followed up on Twitter, I don't have any inside information whatsoever about this decision.
Dwayne lays it right out of the line.
I think
you asked
Dwayne,
me, I don't know.
Dwayne is the smartest one that I've read a comment on.
I have no information.
I have no information about this. I'm not interested in talking about it.
Yeah.
Have a nice day.
Yeah. LeBron dumped me in the middle of the season.
That's
heck
right.
with him.
That's right.
So, oh man.
So, all right, you want to talk baseball? What do you want to talk about?
Well, what do you think?
I don't know.
They're talking about. You want to talk Sox or Cubs?
Whatever you want to talk about.
How about the? I see that they're saying that Jose Abreu may go to the All-Star game. He'd be voted in as
he might be voted in as a starter.
He's way ahead of Mitch Moreland. Is a couple 100,000 votes behind him in the balloting. I don't know when the balloting ends.
Let's see. Abreu. This is Abreu, 636,666 votes. Mitch Moreland, 471,245 votes. There aren't exactly names at first base in the American League that are going to...
No, he even said that with Cabrera out and Eric Hosmer in the National League.
Yeah, and you got Pujols, who's just a shadow of what he is.
Right.
What he is. Jose Altuve is just running away with second base. But Gleyber Torres is second.
Oh, I'm telling you, there's a guy. Boy, the Cubs had looked like they had one there. Huh?
Yep, that's for sure.
But hey, you can't argue a world championship.
You can't argue a World Series winner. Sometimes you got to pay to get something. Right. Anybody else?
For my money, Aroldis Chapman is, as far as I'm concerned, the best closer in the game, and that's what you needed. That's what you needed. Now, I got to ask you
and
this.
I'm looking at others along the way. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with the outfields right now in the American League. Mookie Betts, Mike Trout, Aaron Judge, Michael Brantley is a distant fourth, and George Springer fifth. The only local player in the American League mentioned right here is obviously Jose Abreu over in the National League. Freddie Freeman seems to be running away with the first base position with Anthony Rizzo second.
Mm-hmm.
I can't read here.
Ozzie Albies.
Ozzie Albies from the Braves is a couple of 150,000 votes ahead of Javier Baez. Nolan Ariendo is about 500,000 votes ahead of Chris Bryant, who's in second. At shortstop, Addison Russell is third. Catchers, it's a fairly close race between Posey and Wilson Contreras.
Mm-hmm.
And in the outfield, you got Hayward seventh, Schwarber eighth, Zobrist ninth.
What are you thinking about Yoan Moncada? Not as far as the All-Star, but just in general.
He's going to be a good ball player.
Think so?
I think he is.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I think he's going to be a good ball player. They're in a position right now. You might as well just put him out there.
Well, that's what they're doing. I know that they. Who was it? I want to say it might have been Nick Capra. Last week said that they were questioning whether Moncada should still bat right-handed because he's hitting in the 190s right-handed, and their response to that, which I think is a good one, is said, you know what, we're not convinced that this is something that he shouldn't be doing yet, and we're going to let it play out. And if it comes to the point where we think he should be strictly left-handed hitter, we'll do that. But we are not convinced of that at this point. I think is a really good answer. Now, Ron Stock I keep running into, and he's a huge White Sox fan, and he has his doubts about Tim Anderson.
I have my doubts about Tim Anderson as a shortstop. I don't think that's going to be his final position.
But what they keep saying that, hey, Hans said it the other week in the paper, is hey, we think he's a championship caliber shortstop. He's still got work to do, obviously. I
thought the contract, when they jumped the gun and signed him to that contract, I thought that was a little soon.
That was soon. And that might be part of the reason for their comments.
Yeah.
Now, I know that they're saying Jimenez is going to move up to Birmingham here pretty soon if he already hasn't. And
I'm looking at.
Or is he going up to Charlotte?
No, I'm looking at David Howe's column today. And the Tribune reported Tuesday he will likely report to Charlotte this week.
Charlotte. Okay, he's going up to Charlotte. So he's going up AAA.
Yeah, he's going up to AAA. They said he looks on course to become one of those Sox players for Abreu to mentor. by the July 31st trade deadline if he abuses pitching at AAA like he did at the previous 2 minor league levels. Kopech needs more seasoning, no matter what.
Quite a bit of more
Quite a
seasoning,
bit.
I'd say.
They said maybe Kopech gets it together and makes an August appearance, maybe becomes a September call-up, which I think would be the more likely, the more likely thing to happen. But if he's that good, let him alone. Let him find himself down there. Avoid using a setback to describe the tough stretch Kopech has endured. In his first 3 starts in June, he gave up 14 earned runs and issued 17 walks in 11 innings.
Yeah, no, he's not quite ready yet.
This needs to have him, get going here. Now you talk about Moncada. Just as Yoan Moncada's 527 Major League plate appearances represent too small a sample size to suggest he will be a bust, as respected Sports Illustrated writer Tom Verducci suggested in a story Monday. Kopech's strings of erratic starts hardly signals doom for the rebuild.
I was going to say I don't know. Are they saying Verducci is saying Moncada is going to be a bust? There's a couple things that bother me about Moncada. He was the Red Sox, who you could arguably say are probably a better organization overall than the White Sox. Would you agree on that?
I would agree. I would agree.
They had Moncada as a third baseman. We have him as a second baseman.
Right.
Now, I've read some people say, well, what an excellent fielder he is. I don't see him as an excellent fielder. He's got 8 errors on the year so far. I think his fielding is not there yet. But the thing that also concerns me is, when you give away a guy who's a number, you feel you can give away a guy who's your top prospect, the top prospect in all of Major League Baseball. Did you see something there that, because you see this guy on a daily basis, nobody else saw? And that's my, I'm not going to say fear, but that's my concern about Moncada. So, and so far, he's shown obviously he's got the talent. He wouldn't be a number 1 prospect if he didn't have the talent, but it's a little bit more than that.
He's leading your team in strikeouts right now.
Well, there was the other thing. I was led to believe. How many walks does he have, though? He's
27 walks.
Okay, so he's not like an impatient player. He's willing to take a walk. I think if he was Tim Anderson or Javier Baez, and he was striking out a lot and not walking, that would be a concern. But put it this way, that would not be as much of a concern because he's a free swinger. But if you have a guy who's supposed to have a good batting eye, which this guy is supposed to have, then strikes out that much, that is a concern.
You've got 100 strikeouts in 281 plate appearances.
That's a lot of strikeouts.
That's a lot of strikeouts. The next closest one to him on the team in strikeouts is Matt Davidson, 79.
Well, Jim, do you believe the rate that people are striking out in the major leagues in general?
I've been wanting to sit down and grind the numbers myself, to look at this over the last few years, and also look at it in the minor leagues to get an idea what's happening in the minor leagues. I have to tell you, I found a book that I picked up somewhere along the way, the Encyclopedia of Baseball Analytics. You talk, your comment about analysis by paralysis. There's a book this thick, and it's probably an inch or more thick, of formulas and things that people use to analyze baseball players.
Oh my gosh!
And I've been curious. I took a minor league team. I took the Albuquerque Isotopes, I think they were, and started to lay out some of these formulas to look at. And I looked at their last year, but, I'm also trying to look at and seeing, is there some way that these analytics that everybody is so nuts about on the major league level can actually show something of a minor league player? I don't know. And by the way, it's nice to see that Charlie Tilson has managed the last 25 games without tearing something.
You beat me to it, though. I was going to say I feel good for Charlie because, first off, he finally got his shot at the majors, and now his batting average is up to 280 as of yesterday.
280.
And,
And I think that's great. God bless.
No, I think it is, too. I mean, because there's a guy who, a local guy who had a lot of bad luck right off the start when he got traded to the home team. And, God bless his right. He came back, and now he's showing maybe he does have some talent to stick in the majors and play a role on this White Sox rebuild.
Yeah. And the one that kind of intrigues me, and I'll have to watch a Sox game, Sox a little bit more to see him, because they keep talking about how hard Daniel Palka hits the ball.
Yeah.
Like the second or third exit velocity in the league right now. And I'm wondering why he's not getting more time in right field as opposed to Trace Thompson, who's hitting $117.
Yeah, that's hard to. You know what? I think for both of those guys, they want to see. They're given a little bit of a shot, but here's the thing that bothers me when you start to. How could you say it? When you buy into a guy, say, okay, the three guys you always hear about in the outfield for the Sox in the future, Jimenez, Robert, and the other guy, what the heck's his name? Miker Adolfo.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when you're saying before they ever even hit the majors, these guys, in your mind, maybe, not yours, but I'm saying you're in a general sense, the Sox, these are your guys of the future. Well, you know what? You need a guy like, maybe a guy like Palka or Charlie Tilson. Are you going to give them a shot to upset the apple cart? You're going to give them a shot to upset your best plans. Palka is up here because of injuries. He probably never would have got a shot in the majors. No. And you know what? He's not ripping
bad.
the league up, but you know what? He's competitive. He's hitting 250.
Half a dozen home runs.
Yeah.
His strikeout is 49 strikeouts and 162 plate appearances. But then again, I don't know what's average anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
On base percentage 296.
Mm-hmm.
But he's slugging at 461.
Yeah, so it's like any other player. You have your pluses and your minuses,
Sure.
and you got to decide. Hey, I could live with this, or I'm not going to live with it. I mean, you're talking about a 296 on base percentage, not really good,
not
but
very good.
461 slugging is good.
Not bad. I mean, you've got 8 doubles, 3 triples, half a dozen home runs out of those. All right, so 17 out of his 38 hits are extra bases, which gives you an idea that the lad is hitting the ball hard.
Sure. I mean, you're bringing up Palka is a great thing because what it makes me think is, we talked about the NBA draft. We're talking about the Sox right now. In both cases, one of the things that comes to my mind is preconceived notions about things. The Sox have a preconceived notion. We have Eloy Jimenez. He's going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. And Daniel Palka is just an organization guy that we don't expect much out of. Well, I mean, maybe it's different than that. Maybe Daniel Palka. Some guys don't look as good in the minors, and they come up to the majors, and they actually are more competitive because the ball is usually more around the plate. The pitchers have more control. You're seeing more strikes. You can rely on the ball being around the plate, so you can get a whack at the ball. There's a lot of different factors that go into a major league opportunity versus being in the minors.
Sure.
I just think they're, and you know what? I'm not going to say I probably could put myself in the same category. You have preconceived notions about people, and you want those people to succeed based on your notions, and it's really a blind spot for people who evaluate things. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the pitching. here. Obviously, they keep throwing Giolito out there.
Yeah, well,
They keep throwing. It's 4-7 with a 7.19 ERA, and 45 walks and 40 strikeouts. Carson Fulmer went back down, didn't he?
he's in the minors. Yeah.
Yeah, he does, because he's not in boldface, and they listed him as 40-man roster. Him with his 8.07 ERA.
I'm thinking, Jim, that they are trying to figure if Giolito the guy who looked pretty good at the end of last year.
Yeah, I believe so.
And you know what? Here's the thing: the papers are great. There's a lot of good information in the papers, but I think they overplay things too. Lucas Giolito came up and he did fine last year. They make it like he was lights out. He wasn't lights out exactly. He was good.
Lucas Giolito came up last year, pitched in 7 games, started 7 games. He was 3-3 with a 2.38 ERA.
Right, which is good.
He struck out 34 and walked 12.
Yeah.
Now this year he's struck out 40 and walked 45, and he's a 7.19 ERA.
Well, here's the thing, though, Jim.
And his WHIP last year was 9.5. This year it's 1.64.
You know what would be really helpful analytically, because we talk about analytics, and you look at Lucas Giolito as maybe a good case for this. You come up at the end of the year. Okay, the first thing is, and there's no measure of this, the Sox are out of it, so there's no pressure.
There's no pressure.
Okay,
Sure.
You're making your debut. There's no pressure at all. Now, what teams are you facing? Are you facing guys who don't give a damn because they're out of it? Are you facing contending teams who are pushing a little bit, and maybe you're taking advantage of the pressure they feel?
Good question.
Those analytics, those are things you can't measure analytically, but they're factors.
Good question. You'd have to go back and look at those half a dozen games,
Right.
or 7 games that he appeared in, and see who he faced.
Right. Now, the other thing would be, now you start this year. Now it's a new year. Even though the Sox are supposedly in a rebuild, the players don't look at it that way. They're out there to compete. They want to win. So there's a little more pressure on you, because you're like, what is he, second in the rotation? You're right behind. It's Shields, then Giolito. At least the way it was set up.
No.
Yeah,
Originally,
it was Shields,
Yeah.
Giolito, Lopez, and then Gonzalez.
Right now,
whoever.
it looks like, at least from the Shields, Lopez, Giolito, and right now the 4th starter is Dylan Covey.
Yeah,
who actually hasn't pitched badly.
No,
3-2, 2.9.
but they flipped Giolito and Lopez, because originally Giolito
I think
followed
you're right.
Shields.
Right.
And so now you're the number 2 starter, and now you're facing, you're in a brand new season. Everybody is sort of, if I could put it this way, revived, if you want. It's a whole different ballgame. So you could see why they're thinking, well, which guy do we have here? Do we have the guy with a 2.38 ERA and 3 times more strikeouts than walks? Or do we have a guy with a whatever it is, 7 or 8 point ERA with 5 more walks than strikeouts? I mean, it's so who is it? Who is he? My guess is, maybe if you can make Lucas Giolito into a decent everyday pitcher, maybe that's what you actually have. Who knows?
Who knows? I mean, it's going to be interesting to watch the rebuild.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not going to be an overnight thing, and I'm glad watching them, they're not rushing it, because Kenny Williams would have gone in and traded potential for established and old.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you'd be in baseball hell.
Jim, back to the pitching here. Now Lopez, as you say, is now following Shields in the rotation. You know what? The papers have sort of gushed over him a little bit.
Lopez,
but Lopez.
Not bad. I mean, I'm just looking at the numbers.
Here's what I would
not
say,
bad.
though. You have to say, okay, he's a guy worth looking at. But to say this is going to be a guy who's maybe going to be a top of the rotation guy, there's got to be a lot more seen to say that that's the case.
The only thing, I mean, you can look at somebody now. Ronaldo Lopez is 24 years old.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of time for him to develop
Sure.
into that guy. Lucas Giolito is 23 years old.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of time. Dylan Covey is 26.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still hoping for the best for Carlos Rodon.
Well, there's another guy. He pitched last night. He started out great and then had a terrible inning the next inning. And he's got all this stuff, and I looked at his record since he's been back up. He's 0-1 or 2, and with a 4.41 earned run average.
4.41 ERA. He's pitched 3 games, and he's managed to pitch 16.1 innings, 16 and a third innings.
And this has been his MO. I mean, he's got really good stuff, but he somehow manages within the course of a game to find that one clunker of an inning, and it kills him.
And it ruins him.
And that's so. What do you say about that? I say you got a very iffy talent there. I mean, I'm not saying he's untalented. I'm saying he's got talent, but something is missing so far. That whatever it is that would put him over the top, he hasn't found it.
He's never, I'm just going back and looking at his career. I mean, in 15, when his first year in the majors, started 23 games, appeared in 26. He was 9-6 with a 3.75 ERA. I mean, I'm not going into any of these other things, but I look at his FIP. I know one of your favorite stats, as opposed to the BABIP.
BABIP, yeah.
Yeah, but fielding independent pitching, 3.87. So he's right about in line of what you would expect him to be. The following year, 9-10, 4.04, and the FIP was 4.01. So he's still kind of in line with this. Last year, I mean, he only pitched in 12 games. 2-5, 4.15, 4.69 FIP. This year, 3 games, 4.41. The FIP is 5.36. So that's a key of what he's actually responsible for. And it shows there's something that's not quite there.
Yeah, that's the bottom line. There's something that's missing, and they haven't discovered what it is yet, and who knows if they ever will.
I don't know. I mean, does Don Cooper have to?
Geez, Don Cooper is he must. How they always say some guy in the company, how does he stay employed? He must have pictures. Well, Don Cooper is the guy with the pictures on the White Sox.
I think so. He's lasted as long as he has.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? I just went back to look at his minor league record the last couple of years when he was been down. Now, he pitched in 4 games, and this time down, he was 1-0. Nice ERA, looked good. 28 strikeouts in 17 innings. 1.53 ERA, so they thought, by golly, he's ready. In the previous year when he went down to minor leagues, he couldn't find the plate.
Well, how old is he now?
He is he is 20 today. He is 25 years and 192 days old.
Has he ever done a full year in the minors?
2014, he pitched 9 games at rookie, Class A, I think high A ball, and then Triple A. He pitched 9 games total. The following year in 15, he pitched 2 games, and the Sox brought him up. This could be one of these. Let's rush him along, and he was, and this wasn't what he should be doing.
So I agree. I was going to just say, could this be a case where the guy needs a full year or two in the minors to get his act together?
Yeah, he may have needed a couple. That 14 when he only pitched 9 games, and I don't remember what was wrong. It looks like he was at Charlotte. He was at Winston-Salem. I can't recognize the wherever else he was. No.
Annapolis, maybe,
I don't know.
or Great Forks, possibly.
This could be just a case of somebody who got up here too quick.
Well, when you think about a guy like Koufax, who I think started in the majors in '55 as a bonus baby.
Yeah,
where
and
he
they
had
couldn't
to-
send him, and they couldn't send
he
him
had
to the
to
minors
stay.
in those days.
And when did Sandy Koufax? I would say, let's see, the Sox played the Dodgers in '59. Koufax was in the starting rotation, but I don't think he was the Koufax that we think of
No,
quite yet.
I think he, if anything, he might have been 8-5 or 8-6 for the year.
And I want to say it was about maybe 60, 61 where he came into his own. So you're talking about it took him 5-6 years, and he never did hit the minors ever. But it took him 5 or 6 years probably to hit his stride in the major leagues before he really got going.
All right, your comment regarding Sandy Koufax. Those first few years in Brooklyn, I mean, he pitched 12 games, 16 games, 34 games actually in 1957, but most of those were in relief. His record for those first 3 years in the major leagues, he was 9-10
Okay.
in those first 3 years. In 1958, he was 11-11. Was in 40 games, started 26 of them, 4.48 ERA. 59, the year the Dodgers won the World Series and beat the White Sox, he was 8-6 with a 4.05 ERA. 1960, 8-13. 3.91. Okay, 1961, it started to break. 18-13, led the league in strikeouts. 1962, he was 14-7, but he led the league in ERA. 1963, 25-5, led the league in ERA, led the league in shutouts. Back in the days when pitchers used to throw complete games in
shutouts. Yeah.
11 shutouts. Led the league in strikeouts, 306. 1964, 19-5, led the league in earned run average. 1965, led 26-8. 27 complete games. Led the league in earned run average. Led the league in innings pitched. 335 and two-thirds innings pitched.
Yeah.
382 strikeouts.
Yeah.
And 1966, his last year in the major leagues, 27-9, led the league in earned run average, 1.73, led the league in complete games, 27 complete games, 323 innings pitched, led the league in strikeouts, 317.
So the key thing,
Won the Cy Young Award 2 years in a row.
in regard to our conversation, the key thing there is from 55 to about 61, he was average or maybe less than average as a pitcher, and all of a sudden, it kicked in for him. And actually, one of the big, if you want to call it, if you could knock Sandy Koufax, one of the big knocks on Sandy Koufax is that he's a Hall of Famer, but his Hall of Fame status is based on about 5 years of his career.
Really, it is. I mean, his 12 years in the majors, he was 165 and 87. His 162 game average, 16-8. Of course, a lot of that ties back to his first year, his first years. But if you go look at the Hall of Fame, statistics and going through the Bill James with the black ink and the gray ink and the Hall of Fame monitor and the Hall of Fame standards, black ink, which means he led the league in something, 78. The average Hall of Famer is a 40. The gray ink in the top 10, his number is 151. The average Hall of Famer is 185.
Okay.
His Hall of Fame monitor, pitching, a likely Hall of Famer is 100. His pitching statistics come up with 227.
Whew. Wow.
There's more. There's better ones out there, but I mean, the Hall of Fame standards is the average Hall of Famer is 50. His was 46. If you look at similarity scores to him right now, the names you see on here, his career similarity: Ron Guidry, John Lester, Jack Coombs, Felix Hernandez, Johan Santana, Justin Verlander, Roy Oswalt, Ed Rulbach, Cole Hamels, and Zach Greinke. No Hall of Famers on there, but by golly, you're going to have a couple of them somewhere down the road. Maybe
sure.
John Lester and certainly Justin Verlander. I think if I looked at his stats, he'd be that way right now.
Definitely.
Zach Greinke maybe down the road too.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I guess the point is, as far as the Hall of Fame with Sandy Koufax, is whatever his dominant window was, 5-6 years, he was a dominant player at his position. Sure. I mean, and even when I don't know how we would compare to Gibson or Marichal or those guys, but in my mind, as great as I would say Gibby was, I think Koufax has him beat by a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
I think so too. I think so too.
At any rate,
anyhow,
that's
all right. We've yammered enough.
John's sitting there waiting. Well, one of these guys is going to get out of here.
John's sitting there going, I wish they'd get out of here. I want to get something to eat, and I got to go to the bathroom. All right. I think we had another All-Star edition. John, wrap this one up and send it to Museum of Broadcast Communications. Put this one in the Hall of Fame. We'll get together again in a few weeks and figure out. Well, once we get off, we'll figure out when we're going to do this nonsense. I'm going to be out of town July 25th. Okay. All right, that's it for us. We will see you again sometime in July. Thanks for listening. We had a lot of fun, so we are Taillights.
Reminds me, next one.
You have been listening to Armchair Experts from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on Thursday, June the 21st, the first day of summer, on Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich and the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network with Jim Leon and Rich Massaro. This broadcast was directed by John DeVita, and our special thanks to radio station manager Kevin Zeflik of WRHS FM Norwich and the executive producer of Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network, Mr. John Secondo. This broadcast was pre-recorded on Wednesday, June the 20th, the year 2018. And this is Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM, Norwich, Illinois.